We move now to talk with the Houston Geological Society president. The president is here. He represents the largest local geological community in the world. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you, Daniel. I'm glad to be here.
John, you were shaking your head, not the hand, that would be different, when we were talking about diamonds. What were you thinking about?
Well, diamonds are not rare, and De Beers did do a good job of a cartel, but the problem of all cartels is what we're seeing, the same thing in the oil and gas business, is there's always people who are not involved in the cartel who start dumping diamonds on the market. In this case, it would be the Russians. De Beers, for many years, controlled the diamond market, and because they were the first ones to find massive amounts of diamonds in South Africa, they purchased every diamond discovery around the world. But there are some places, like in Russia, you were not able to do that, and the Russian government was mining diamonds and dumping them on the market for hard currency, particularly during the Soviet bloc time. And it's a similar situation here today with the oil and gas business. Oil and gas, it's the same thing. You have the largest deposits of oil in the world are controlled basically by OPEC, and they have a cartel, and they try to control prices. But there are other places that are producing large amounts of oil. In fact, the largest producers in the world, some of them currently, because of the way things lay out, are the Russians, and they are dumping prices on the market, oil on the market, and that's part of the oil market.
So you are president of this large geological society, and you see an array of different geologists.
Oh, yes. We have a full array.
Yeah. Can you describe the kind of members that are part of the Geological Society? Yes.
The Houston Geological Society, we primarily have petroleum geologists because we're here in Houston, but there's also a whole branch of our organization that is environmental geologists. They do a lot of environmental remediation and cleanup and monitoring in the ship channel, where we have one of the world's largest petrochemical facilities running up and down the Houston Ship Channel. And this is directly related to the large amount of hydrocarbons found in the state of Texas.
And now you talk with a lot of geologists that are probably listening. Some of them, they may be members, but some maybe they're not. Why should a geologist be a member of the Houston Geological Society?
A person should become a member of the Houston Geological Society, one, because it's very inexpensive. Our goal is the Houston Geological Society is to provide low-cost information and technology transfer to our members in the greater geologic community. We do not discriminate against people. Anyone can come to one of our meetings. You go out to our website, you can register to come to one of our meetings. We do offer a discount to people that are members, and if you come to enough meetings, that discount will pay for your membership. A membership is only $30 a year, and it is a very low cost.
So you mean it's mainly networking?
It's a networking and information transfer. We have 5 meetings a month. 4 meetings a month. I want to say, and then we also have several large conferences every year. For example, I heard you had a little question come in on fracking. We have a Mud Rocks conference where we talk about the shale play. That happens once a year in, I believe it's November. Is that right? No, it's in February. Sorry about that. February. Sorry, my mind is jumping around. And then we also have, every other year, we have a conference on technology and what's going on the continent of Africa, another large oil province that covers the entire continent of Africa. That happens every other year. And then we have another conference every other year on the off year of the Africa conference, which is called Geomechanics, where we talk about how fracking's done, structural geology, and other things, but mainly it's about the geomechanics of fracking and reservoir production for the shale play.
So, and the society is obviously not for profit, And so I bet you have a lot of volunteers, like we have here in the radio, right?
It's all volunteers. We have two.
How do you handle that?
It's been an interesting experience. We have two paid employees and an office over on the west side of town, up by I-10 at Dairy Ashford, and they are the corporate memory, and they really do the yeoman's work of everything. We have a board of directors and a group of volunteers.
How many volunteers you have, roughly? I tell you us. In here, in the radio, we have 250 volunteers.
You got more than us, I think. I want to say we have a little over 100.
And we have in here in the radio only 8 people that they get a salary. And only 4 of them full-time.
Yeah, we have 2 full-time people and in the office space, and we have an array of volunteers. And people do, and when I say 100, that involves a whole range of volunteerism at the HGS. You know, many people say, you know, I didn't do much. You know, why are you so excited? If you come to an organizing meeting, you've already done 90% more than anybody else has done. And if you actually do something at that meeting to help us out, you're in the 1% of people that do things. Many of our members don't do a lot of things, but they come to the meetings and they enjoy helping, enjoy learning more and seeing their friends and networking with one another. It's the geologic petroleum industry, geologic community is very small.
Tell me again about the volunteers. What is their makeup? Are they like youngsters? Are they old guys?
It goes across the spectrum. A lot of older people are doing the volunteering. I think you'll see more younger people coming in.
So how do you inspire the youngsters? What do you tell them? How do you keep them in the society?
I try to inspire them by telling them that it's a very small community and that networking
you can say that. You have the largest community in the world.
Yes, but it's tight-knit. When most geologists who get, particularly in the petroleum industry, get a job, they go to college, they graduate from college, and they get hired out of school. But that second job you want is going to come through networking. And networking means that when you're looking for another job, if somebody at that company knows you and has interacted with you, and when your name comes along on the short list of people looking for a job, and they say, oh, I know Daniel, he's a great guy, he will fit in perfect, boom, that is how you get a job.
There we go. And guys, call us. Call to ask some questions to the president here, 713-526-5738. I don't want my wife to call, please. I told you I'm a terrible husband. She probably doesn't even know I'm here. But somebody told me that we don't take calls. No. We are taking calls. We want calls. We want to challenge the president in here. Come on, he's here. It's your target. Call us. I know that some of you are already trying to call. You probably are too far away to call. If you're trying to call from Argentina, come on. So let's change gears in here, John. And because you know all of these people, you have this networking and data exchange. You should have the finger on the pulse of what's going on in the industry or in the academia or in the war, all the things that are related to oil and gas. So can you tell us something about what is the situation, the socio-economic situation today?
I wish I could say I knew everything, but I have my opinions. I read a lot. I go and I talk to people, and I try to attend other groups, meetings, so I can understand a little bit. But we are currently in the petroleum industry, one of the bigger recessions that I've ever seen in this industry. I did run through this in the mid-'80s. In 1985-86 was another time very similar to this, where we had massive layoffs of geoscientists because we had a complete collapse in the price of hydrocarbons. And we have that again today, and it started in, most people like to say it started a little earlier than I think of it starting, but it started about mid-February, about mid-14, and it has been continuing on all the way through now. I think the bottom of this decline was about a year ago. around May of 16, where we saw the lowest point of the rig count. The rig count is important because every time an oil well is drilled or a petroleum geologist comes up with an idea for an oil well to be drilled, it employs a huge number of people, and it spreads out from there. So as the rig count goes up, the more people will be needed for work in the petroleum industry, whether they're at a service company or actually at an oil company. The thing that we're seeing now, I did spend a little time last night thinking about this. I was reading in the newspaper this morning, OPEC stumbles is boom to shale play, as in the Houston Chronicle front page. We've had the OPEC meeting yesterday. They had a price drop by about 4% because traders were hoping that they would increase the amount of cuts. They've extended them into 2018. Generally speaking, they don't feel that they're making much headway, but the reality of it is that if you look at inventories, we have started to see a decrease in inventories in oil crude stocks starting in February. It's been very slow and small, and it's going to take a long time to work your way through that. The concern I have is that for every reduction in inventory and the price goes up, you will see an increase in activity in the Permian Basin. So if you're not working in shale play and you're working in conventional resource, deep water oil and gas, it could be difficult for a while because we need to get service prices in line with prices for deep water exploration, and then it'll start moving along too. But the shale play is going to keep a lid on oil prices. It's hard for me to imagine them getting significantly over the mid-50s right now without some sort of a geopolitical event. But given the market as it is, I have a hard time because as soon as it gets above 50, you see an increase in activity of production from the West Texas.
Those geopolitical events could happen pretty soon and unpredictably. We are going to go to the phones. We have Patricio online that is waiting there. Patricio, hello.
Hello, Daniel. How are you?
I'm pretty fine. Do you have a question here for the President?
Yes, I do. But first of all, thank you very much for putting this show to this program together. I'm a geologist, and actually right now I'm at work. I'm looking at rocks, and this have some course, and it's great to see that hear people talking about geology.
I'm glad that you're not extincted. The geologists, they don't really look at rocks anymore. They look at logs and screens on computer.
Yeah, that's one of the things. And this is related, and that I'm kind of a specialized geologist, and it's my question for the President. And so the question I have is, I've been working as a sedimentologist and a specialist geologist for 8 years now in the industry, and I went down this path of a specialist. So I'm a very specialized, very skilled on something very specific, and now I'm fortunate to be employed right now. But, when now in the downturn, if I lose a job, sometimes I think, well, is being a specialized geologist something good, or should I try to get a path that broadens my expertise and try to be more flexible? And so that's something, a conflict I have sometimes, what should I do next? Should I continue to specialize and do what I really like to do, or try to be more kind of play safe and try to broaden my skills? And I would like to hear, his recommendation, his view. He's a very experienced person.
Thank you very much, Patricio.
Well, I'm always a believer in following your heart. If your heart's really into sedimentology and describing core, that you should do that. It is a very narrow field. I have a hard time seeing it go away, but it can get small, and I know other people who have lost their jobs that were doing that, and I think it could be very difficult to find another job. My experience was, and my passion always was, I considered myself a prospector. I didn't really call myself a geologist or a geophysicist. I kind of used everything I could find. Every day I went in, I looked for oil. I grew up in a...
Please write prospector on Wiki. Create a Wiki page of prospector now.
Right. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and went to school. I was a big outdoorsy kind of guy, and I took a geology class, and I got excited about it.
So we have love again, follow your heart.
Yeah, and I decided right then and there, it was during a recession in the mid-'70s, and it wasn't hard to see that the problems of the industrial town I lived in was high oil prices. So becoming a petroleum geologist and looking for oil to try and help the U.S. economy was kind of almost a patriotic thing when I decided to do it, and that's why I followed that, and it's been my passion.
We're going to go to the next caller, Linda. Linda, you're on the air.
Hi, Daniel. This is Linda. Hey, I got a question for John. I'd like to know how long he's been in the oil business and if he's changed companies, and how does he cope and what are his job search strategies?
Thank you, Linda.
Linda, it's good to hear from you. I know you. But this is a great question. I've been in the industry. I started working in 1981. And I don't think I have a career that's that all-fire different from many people. I've worked at probably 6 different places. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's got to be close to 6. Sometimes it has been exceedingly challenging to find a new job. Other times it has been easier. But the way that I found new jobs was through networking. I know I started my career in California working for a major oil company in the San Francisco Bay Area. And when I was laid off during the mid-'80s crisis, I ended up my wife still worked at the company. I got transferred here to Houston, and I knew no one when I came here to this town, nobody. And it was very challenging, and so I made a little pact with myself that if I could get back in the industry, I would get to know everybody. And that's how you do it.
We have a couple of calls. Let's do them. Billy, you're on the air.
Yes. Yes. You know what? My wife, who passed away in 1993, was a geologist, and she had a company in Houston called HPI, Houston Processes Incorporated, and told me all about what she was doing. You know, when we married, and I didn't know a damn thing about geology except for what she taught me. And I loved her, okay? So basically that's all I got to say. You know what?
Thank you, Billy. Thank you. I think that love is in the air today.
Well, most people do find that geologists and geoscientists make good spouses.
You listen. Hey, wife. You listen to what the president said in here, okay?
Okay.
Billy, thank you very much. Big hug to you. And we go now to Johnny. Hi, Johnny.
Yeah. I have a question that has to do with cause and effect that relates back to something that stuck with me from a grade school earth science class. And fast forward that to what Rush Limbaugh once said in a mocking sort of way about science. The thing in my grade school science class was the teacher once made an observation about how... you know, the butterfly effect? Well, this was way before the butterfly effect. She explained that when you take a mountaintop and you cut it off, that has an immediate effect on the weather. And she pointed out to the Rocky Mountains out west to explain why they have the type of weather they do versus the type of weather we have on the East Coast. This was in New York grade school. And that always stuck with me. And I thought about on the East Coast, like Virginia and Kentucky, where they do coal mining, how the corporation owners, they got so greedy and lazy, they wanted to not employ so many coal miners, that they went ahead and started blasting off the tops of mountains in order to get to the coal easier. And I thought between that and all the jets flying around in the atmosphere, burning jet fuel, and all the automobiles on the ground in New York, growing up and seeing all that pollution, and then hearing about the Cuyahoga River catching on fire, the cause and effect is obvious. And I want to know, from the earlier question is, how many of the geoscientists are working to actively educate the general public, or specifically grade school kids who are tomorrow's voters?
Yeah, Johnny, you're so right. This is one of the goals, I think, and I read in the mission of the Geological Society in here, because education is one of the main pillars in the reasons why these societies exist. John, do you want to briefly answer that before we move to another important topic, which is unemployment?
Yes, I'll just say real quickly, many of the things that you talked about is the reason that we have the laws that we have and the regulations that we have in this country, like the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. I grew up in Ohio, and I do remember when the Cuyahoga River caught on fire. These are all important things. We need to have clean air and clean water to be able to have a clean environment to live in. And I think you'll find most geologists are very much in favor of that. And the goal I think we need to have, and we push this very hard in our country, the goal here is to get the developing world to start moving in the same direction that the U.S. is going in. Many of those countries are opposed to that because they say that they're still developing and they can't afford to have these kind of environmental regulations that we have.
John Jordan, President of the Houston Geological Society, thank you very, very much to share all of your thoughts, ideas, and experience with this little program, this mini geology spot.
Daniel, it's been a very rewarding experience. I've enjoyed this a great deal. If you ever want to have me come back, feel free to give me a call. I would love to come and help you out.
That is great.